What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at the most meta icon in each position, cheap versus expensive. So number one is going to be our man Casillas. As you can see, in general, I feel like this guy is the cheapest keeper that you can get, other than your base Schmeichels, your base Czechs. He is one that personally has always saved me a hell of a lot. It's coming in just over 100,000 coins, which I think is perfect for a keeper personally. In terms of the stats, with keepers we blast through them because there is very little difference, and I will say that 100% when it comes to Gold Courtois, Team of the Year, Van der Sar, Yashin. I just think it's personal preference. On every single goalkeeper best meta, ranking tier list that I've done, you just see so many people having so many different opinions on every goalie. Someone likes Courtois, someone thinks he's rubbish, someone really loves Czech. I personally don't, but from my experience, Czech has always been a number one if you are going for the cheaper keeper. As we go for the most expensive, it is going to be our man Van der Sar. He has been an absolute gem. He's personally been the keeper that saved me a hell of a lot, but he does come in at a massive million coin price, which personally, if I didn't pack him untradeable, I probably would have been using Team of the Year Courtois, and failing that, I'd probably be still using a gold card. I think I have had Prime Casillas as well a couple of times from the picks, but obviously when you've got your set keeper in net, you already know who you're going for. So let me know down below, who is your keeper? That's going to be the comment for today, and then we move on to the right back, and I think this card is an absolute beauty. His Prime is getting an SBC coming in the next couple of days, so that is something to look at. But in terms of the cheapest right back you can get, which is meta, Zambrotta is always on that list. A 4-star, 5-star, even at 86 rated is incredible. Definitely better than the mid, and obviously the Prime just gets that little bit better. But in terms of this base, still a wonderful right back that would give you absolutely everything going forward. The best right back, other than Carlos Alberto, as I feel like both of these two, Cafu and Alberto, are very similar in their style. Cafu a little bit more on the stockier side, whereas Alberto is very tall and lean. But I do think Alberto is more suited towards the centre-back role this year, and obviously with the alternative positions, we can actually do that. But Cafu is going to be the most expensive right back in the game for an icon. Then we go into the centre-backs, and you all know how much I love this Bobby Moore. Are you tired of using players like this? I would much rather have teams more like this. Then I recommend going over to skycoach.gg for all of your coaching and coins needs. They are cheap, fast and reliable, but at the checkout make sure you are using code JT11 for a discount on your orders. Back to the video. As cheap as he comes, he is a wonderful centre-back that you can get. If you don't have a centre-back yet, I would 100% urge you to have a look at this guy. The upgrade was absolutely fantastic for him. The agility balance was sorted. He got a nice pace increase, as well as already having very good defending physical. We've got Trey as a team player, and the person who's going to be the cheapest next to him is going to be our man Mid Blanc, another fantastic centre-back. In terms of stats, doesn't look anything special, most definitely. You kind of see him and you think, well, most of the special centre-backs we get week in, week out worth 100, 200, 300k are exactly the same stats. But what he has is in-game is just an absolute menace. Prime is fantastic. He has, I believe, a World Cup as well, which again is brilliant. The base is kind of a bit of a different one, seeing as though he is a cam, but the centre-back is amazing. And that's going to be my dual partnership of the two cheaper centre-backs. And now moving on to the big boys. We've got Maldini as one of the best centre-backs. Top 3, top 2 centre-backs in the game in terms of what my opinion is. You could have different ones, but Maldini for me has always been sensational. No matter if we got his moments, his mid, his base, his prime, they have always been exceptional centre-backs. Endgame centre-backs no matter what, and Maldini this year is no exception. He is still incredible. Going with him, personally one of my favourites, Team of the Year Vidic. Another cracking one from obviously the Team of the Year icons. Had a massive increase onto his pace. Defending physical was already at a nice level. So I think it's just a well-rounded off version of him. Great composure, reactions, defending, physical, all working really well together. As well as having that power header and team player. If he was managing to get Maldini and Vidic together, incredible partnership. Virgil would do, but in terms of icons, these two are my personal favourite. And Team of the Year Nesta is not far off from that. Then we move on to the left back in Roberto Carlos Baby. The cheapest option you can get of Roberto Carlos and the cheapest best left back I think you can get in terms of icons. The pace is good. I feel like in terms of anything lower than 400-500k as a left back, they're all about the same. A Furlan Mendy would do the job of a base Roberto Carlos, but obviously that's for a different video. This is purely based on icons alone. And base Roberto Carlos is always a nice one to get very at the start of the game. Now slightly becoming out of it, but definitely could still give you a good run for your money. And then in terms of the expensive one, we're going for the World Cup Roberto Carlos. In general, this card, brilliant, has an upgrade on the weak foot to a 3-star. Still not necessarily the best left back you can get in the game, but in terms of icons, I think with the 3-star weak foot, it just pips off the prime version of Roberto Carlos. Both of them around the same sort of price, coming in about 1.1 mil a piece. But in terms of the stats, very much like the base, but just slightly more increased, which is always nice. And in general, he's always been a solid left back. Very nostalgic if you grew up in my era as well. Then we move on to the right wing. We've got Georgie Best as a right wing, right mid. Obviously, the positions are specific in terms of right mid, right wing. You both got the same pretty much. They all can play either or. And Georgie Best is going to be the cheapest one out of the bunch. In terms of the ones under him, in terms of price, I just don't feel like they're meta. So this, if they are a little bit more expensive, like I think George Best, I think he's about 300,000-400,000 coins for his base. Even though that technically is still a little bit expensive, in terms of the cheapest best right mid, right wing you can get, I would go with the base version of Best. I feel like he gives you it all still. Most versions of Best, Jarzinho, Garrincha, then you've got like the Team of the Year icon Beckham, they all give you roughly the same. Great pace, decent shooting, passing hit and miss depending on which version. The dribbling's normally nice, and there's a little bit of physicality. But this card, again, gives you it down the wing. I feel like he could still be played today quite easily and still comes in at a very efficient price, to be honest. I think in terms of right mids, you're going to have to pay through the nose, as any attacking player is going to be expensive. Now, the most expensive is going to be Jarzinho, 5-star, 4-star. I think he does pip Team of the Year Beckham, Prime Garrincha, and also Prime Best, mainly because he's got a very good array of stats. We've got incredible pace, as we said. We've got incredible shooting, very, very good dribbling, even passing's at a high standard, and he has a little bit of physicality as well. He's very much a whole package sort of right wing, brand new to the game, 5-star, 4-star, definitely worth a look in if you are looking at a right wing at the top price. We move over to the left-hand side now. Technically, normally I like to put somebody, specifically they are left mid, left wing, individual from like the base card. They may have an alternative, like obviously Stoichkov does have an alternative as a left wing, and that is why we've gone for him today, because I think for 75,000 coins, that is not a bad card. I do think Stoichkov is very underused in any version of him, especially the World Cup version with the increase on the, I want to say it's weak foot, I'm pretty sure it's a 4-4. Obviously, it was an SBC, so you can't get it now. But in terms of the base, that is a very, very good card for 75,000 coins. Even as a striker, that is not terrible. But for left wing, whenever I've used him out wide and cuts in, he's always been absolutely exquisite for me. So he's definitely coming in as the cheaper option. Now, before we go to the next one, can you have a guess of who the left wing is? I'll give you a second. Go to the comments, pause it. Let me know what you think, because it's obviously going to be Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho, 15 million coins extinct. Outstanding. A 5-star, 4-star. Well worth his money, but in terms of the price you're going to have to pay, it is going to cost a couple of organs, to be honest, because that is just crazy. 15 million coins for one card. I don't think in any FIFA I've ever had 15 million coins at one point. I may have had a 15 mil club, but most definitely I couldn't sell any of them. So in terms of this card, very unobtainable for a lot, but I think that's kind of like the whole point. You want to try and get these cards. If we do manage at some point to get maybe a World Cup or Team of the Year Prime Icon Pack, then you best believe we are looking for this card. We then move on to the DM position. We're going for base Essien, who is outstanding for the price. In general, this card is very, very stable as a CDM. In terms of centre mid, I don't feel like he's got it. That's why we've personally gone for a CDM, and definitely the better option for a cheaper version of an icon if you still need to get one. Then we obviously have Matthias as the CDM option here. Incredible centre mid, CDM. He does the whole business. He's got the defending. Very much a great box to box, but in terms of a CDM, he would still give you the job if you've got somebody like Zidane next to him, who is more of the attacking option rather than the defensive, whereas Matthias does have a very good array of stats throughout. That obviously does give his 91 a shout as well. I think 93 or 91 could still pop it, but as the most expensive, this is going to be the best card you can get in a CDM. Then we have Ballack as the cheap centre mid. Brilliant card this is. A little bit more expensive than most. I think it's about just over 150 as of recording this, but still very, very nice going forward. You whack the shadow on him, you end up with the 89 pace, 87 or 88 defending, I think it is, as well as already having physicality. Passing's already good. Dribbling wise, not necessarily a strong point with the agility balance, but most definitely is a powerhouse in that mid. And I was very surprised when I reviewed him that he genuinely played really, really well. So personally for me, cheapest option in centre mid is going to Ballack. The most expensive is obviously going for our man Hullet. Team of the year, prime, mid, whatever you could afford, whatever you can get, he is the man in that midfield. You can put him centre mid, CDM, cam, centre forward, striker. He could do it all. He's just a one-man team. Genuinely, if you've ever tried somebody of this sort of level, a loan, draft, any version of him, if you can get him in, he just orbits the ball around him. He can win it back, he can shoot, dribble, pass, pace, physical. He's just everything. There's a reason why they call it Hullet Gang, and he most definitely is the leader of any midfielder in terms of an icon. Then we move over to Cam, and this one a little bit more harder, to be honest. I feel like in terms of a meta player now, even Kaka's definitely struggling a little bit, especially without any chem style, but you definitely want to look for something like a Hunter just to max out as much pace and shooting as possible. But I do think he's still got a shot over absolutely everybody, from the Roy Costas to the Luis Figos. Obviously then you've got Hadji. You then keep going down and you've got centre forwards that can play Cam. But in terms of a Cam, I personally like Kaka, but I do know there is quite a few people that are not necessarily his biggest fan. I think the dribbling for me is normally where it goes to. The 5-star, 4-star, utilising that left stick dribbling is normally pretty good with Kaka. And obviously, it's another Brazilian for the cam role. Our man Pele Prime is outstanding. You just know you're going to win stuff with this guy. I'm hoping we do get a 99 of him at some point, if it's footage, team of the season, whatever promo they want to do next, because he has definitely got to get a 99 in this FIFA. Stat-wise, you can't get much better. Striker, cam, centre forward, he can absolutely do it all. Then we move on to the centre forward role. We've got Del P to start with the cheaper version, and I think this card is incredible to start with. Normally starts around about 5 to 600,000 coins, which in terms of icons is on the cheaper side compared to the most expensive, but now we've kind of got through the game a little bit more. He just is still incredible. Centre forward cam would suit him down to the ground. I do think you would definitely need a Hullet-esque sort of player next to him in a striker role, someone like a Haaland, just because the physicality side of him is not going to get him through Maldini or Virgil. But if you bring him back that little bit more and give him that room to run, he has got endless capabilities in any team. And I think for the price, you cannot argue. And then we go into Cruyff. It's just a little bit of Cruyff. 94 prime mid base, any version of him is outstanding with the 5-star, 5-star. Always comes in at a millions upon millions of coin price card, and I just think he's worth every penny. He's probably one of the only icons I am so excited to review in base, mid and prime form. Then if it goes over to prime moments at some point, every version is top dollar. Endgame, no matter what point you get him. The base may come in a little bit, not as, it still will be meta, but it's definitely not an end game in comparison to people having team of the season Virgils, Maldinis, obviously then more team of the years, more team of the seasons, but you can still get away with him. If you can use Gold Mbappe from now until the end of the game, you can definitely use the Cruyff. So I think for me, Cruyff has got to be the best centre forward you can get, which is very close to Eusebio. A bit of Pele because I know he has a couple of versions there, and also Puskás. Then we go on to the final two in striker. Dalglish is going to be my pick for the cheapest striker you can get in terms of an icon. A very pick up and play sort of icon, which I think is it resonates with a lot of people personally. If you've got a striker like Drogba is a little bit cheaper, but I do think that is a specific way how you've got to play with him. Dalglish is just a running machine. He can through ball to feet, obviously then go round people. He's just got the whole package as a striker, especially with a 4-star, 5-star as well. That is definitely something that is really handy with this guy, and obviously it just gets better and better with his mid, his World Cup, which I believe he does have, I think it's a 91, and then finally his prime. An incredible player that you can get for absolute pence in comparison to most strikers. And then number 1 is our man R9. Did you expect anybody else? I don't personally think anybody's come close to R9 in terms of icons. Obviously, you've got your Team of the Year Mbappes, your Messis, your Haalands. They are definitely very, very close to the card, but they are meant to be the best of the best, especially for now. As we get into Team of the Season and footies, you get players that definitely replicate the sort of style, but for me, nobody does it better than R9. He's made that way, he's got his own body type, and he is the best striker in the game. Hands down, no questions. Let me know down below if you've got any other icons you'd like to suggest. Make sure you do like and subscribe on this, and I'll catch you all for the next one. Check out a video, it's been picked for you. Peace.